That's the thing though. To become a good chemist takes a lot of thinking. You have to engage chemistry. If you want to be a good biologist, you have to engage biology. Like, I'm sure a lot of you know people like this. They go to school and they just talk about, oh yeah, I just bullshit my way through, or I just cheat my way through, or I don't even go to class. I just look up the notes from somebody else and memorize it just for the test. And it's like, so then you don't really love chemistry. You're there because you're a whore. What do whores do? Anything. If the price is right. And then you ask that question, well, why does money matter? And we have like these superficial answers, which is really just us sitting on a little perch, parroting back to people what we've heard all of our lives. More money, go on vacation, be happy, and even then, there's no guarantee that what makes them happy is going to make you happy. I guarantee you what makes me happy probably doesn't make many of you happy. I wonder how many of you are sitting there right now going like, still, good person. That's obvious. If it was so obvious, we would have more good people, wouldn't we? And yet we look around the world and we complain about people. People are greedy, people are selfish, people are deceitful, people are haters, people blah, blah, blah. But it's so easy to be a good person. Well, then how come so few people are? Can you understand why there's so few good chemists? Because you have to study chemistry to be a good chemist. Why are there so few good poets? Because you have to study poetry. You can't just go around, the deep, dark void that is my soul. Oh, look, I wrote poetry. You wrote shit on a page, dude. You didn't write anything meaningful. It means something to me. Why, God, then keep it to yourself, man, because it sucks. The process of examining your unconscious self is the process of discovering the things that you need, not just the things that you want. And hopefully, the goal of life, man, is to get what you want and to get what you need in alignment. And if you can align those things together, man, you've really got something going. And there's also something really important to what you said about the selfishness of love. And there's a selfishness in love that I think that we oftentimes overlook. So for example, I was asking, why would your parents want the best for you? Why would your parents want you to be successful? Because if you're successful, guess what that means?
They don't have to worry.
More than that. And it's something that I hate saying it. It's one of those things I hate saying because I wonder if you can really understand it yet.
Oh, you have what they want. What they want.
Kind of. If you're successful, that indicates that they, as parents, were successful. Yeah, that they did a good job. If you get thrown in prison for murder, you tell me that parents don't sit there and shake their heads and go, oh man, I did something. They might try really hard to ignore it. And I think that a lot of people who try to do this, we try really hard to say, well, my kids are acting like this, but you know what? That they're just their own person. Yeah, now, like in the past year or 2, 3, 4 years or so, but there's a big gap between birth and then before they started being their own person, where we were just kind of imitating what our parents, what we saw from our parents, or what we were allowed to do, or the directions that we were pushed into. Like for example, when I was asking about like school, our parents want us to go to school. Yeah, but why? And I don't know how to ask that question any other way, because I think that when we answer, it's kind of like, I feel like we're being misled into a certain answer because they want us to be successful because this. Yeah, but why school though? And I wonder, I really do wonder, and I really think I won't ask anybody to raise hands or to answer this question, but I wonder how many of us really think our parents really value education. And I don't mean that they want us to get a high school diploma so that we can get this little piece of paper that will allow us to go get a job and get these little tiny scraps of cheese thrown at us every 2 weeks. Or because they want us to get that piece of paper which will, allow us to go get another piece of paper. Or how many, for example, if you told your parents that you wanted to study chemistry, I wonder how many of them would think, that's gonna be so awesome. You're gonna get a great job afterwards. Versus a person who will say, you're gonna study chemistry, so you're gonna understand the building blocks of of humanity. You're going to understand the building blocks of the universe. Holy crap, you're going to command the very elements that make up the universe.
Or they just tell you it's not realistic.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, no. It's like if I can't tell you how many times when I was growing up and people asked me what I was interested in, and I would say philosophy. And they go, the inevitable question, how is that going to earn you any money? How you can make money doing that? And I would say, I don't care about money. And they would say, well, of course you don't care about money. You want to study philosophy. And there's this circle. It's kind of like if I asked your parents, or you ask most parents, what do you want for your kids? If I were to ask you guys, if you had children, what would you want from them? I wonder how many of us would say, I just want to be happy. Because right now we feel like we're not happy, and so we want that for our kids. We want them to be, better off than we were. Now I want my kids to be, successful. I wonder how far down that list many of us would get if it ever occurred to us at all to say, I want my kid to be a good person. And I wonder how many would even know how to answer what that means, to be a good person. Well, I want to be honest in everything. Oh, forget it, you're overthinking. That's the thing, though. To become a good chemist takes a lot of thinking. You have to engage chemistry. If you want to be a good biologist, you have to engage biology. Like, I'm sure a lot of you know people like this. They go to school and they just talk about, oh yeah, I just bullshit my way through, or I just cheat my way through, or I don't even go to class. I just look up the notes from somebody else and memorize it just for the test. And it's like, so then you don't really love chemistry. You're there because you're a whore. What do whores do? Anything. If the price is right. Why do they go to college? Well, because if the price hopefully will be right for them afterwards. I'll get more money in some job. And then you ask that question, well, why does money matter? And we have like these superficial answers, which is really just us sitting on a little perch, parroting back to people what we've heard all of our lives. More money, go on vacation, be happy, but does it really do that? Do you know people who do those things? And even then, there's no guarantee that what makes them happy is going to make you happy. I guarantee you what makes me happy probably doesn't make many of you happy. I wonder how many of you are sitting there right now going like, still, good person? That's obvious. If it was so obvious, we would have more good people, wouldn't we? And yet we look around the world and we complain about people. People are greedy. People are selfish. People are deceitful. People are haters. People blah, blah, blah. But it's so easy to be a good person. Well, then how come so few people are? Can you understand why there's so few good chemists? Because you have to study chemistry to be a good chemist. Why are there so few good poets? Because you have to study poetry. You can't just go around, the deep, dark void that is my soul. Oh, look, I wrote poetry. You wrote shit on a page, dude. You didn't write anything meaningful. It means something to me. Why, God, then keep it to yourself, man, because it sucks. I know we're not supposed to say that because it's my feelings, but no, there's a way that you write poetry. There's a reason that good poetry is remembered, and good poetry hits you differently than the deep, dark void that is my soul. Because to do it, you have to study it. You have to learn how to do it. That's obvious. Anybody want to get on an airplane with a pilot who just kind of like feels his way through it and didn't study it? Yeah. I had a friend who was a pilot. And, he died on 9/11. The point is, none of us would get on an airplane with a person who didn't study to be a pilot. You would never learn, you would never trust a chemist who didn't study to be a chemist. And yet, we trust people constantly who never studied to be a good person, or what it means to even be good, or what goodness is. In fact, that's the one thing where we sit there and go, oh my God, it's too much thinking. Like the guy's making a bomb, it's like, you need to study this stuff. Oh, it's too much thinking, just make the bomb. No, we understand in every facet that the more you think about something, the deeper you can get into it. And so I wonder how many of our parents would say, I want you to be a good person. They might say, they say, we want you to be successful, but what does success mean to you? Because what they're probably saying is that it also says something about them. And hear what I'm saying. There's a selfishness that's there, and it's not a bad thing. How much feedback do our parents get about how well they're raising us? They do get a lot, but oftentimes it's at a point when the dice is already cast. Like right now, there isn't a whole lot that people can do to shape you. It's a personal choice at this point. But from the ages of like 0 to 12 or 13 or so, there was a lot. And now the feedback is happening. And what they want is they want that sacrifice to matter. Like I hope you want your parents' sacrifice to matter. I hope you live in such a way that you want to esteem the sacrifice. And someday you'll have children, most of you, and you're gonna, same thing, you're gonna want the sacrifice that you make for your children to matter. And that's kind of the feedback that you get. If you're successful, then that means that they were successful as parents. And I know that you have teachers who will look at you and say, man, if you're successful, that meant that I was a successful teacher. I was an effective teacher. I don't think so. If you're successful or not, does that have anything to do with me? Not really, no. No, you have, this one jerk you have right now, among 6 teachers you have, in the 12th year of your education. How much does one person make a difference? Probably not much at all. No one person is responsible for any of and all of it. But hopefully this thing you recognize from Jung, you've got these conscious motivations, but you've also got these unconscious motivations. And unless you make the unconscious motivations conscious, you're going to pursue things in life and you have no idea why you pursue them. And if you achieve them, they very well may never make you happy. You want to be famous? I don't know how many people here want to be famous. It's a great line from a Smith song. He says, all I've ever wanted from life was to be famous. And he says, I'd rather be famous than righteous or holy. Now, why does he want fame? What's he really after? Just to be famous. Nah, there's something in the unconscious that's driving you. You want to be loved. There's an idea that you have about fame. Man, when I go places, I'm going to be important. When I go places, it's going to matter what I say. People are going to recognize me. I'm going to have an impact on people's lives. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that connection to others, the leaving a mark, center of that archetype circle. And unless you realize that, you're going to pursue things. And here's the thing: will the things that you get in life make you happy? It's a crapshoot, maybe, but by luck, you didn't study it. But I don't know how many happy old people do you know? How many old people do you know that really, I don't know, not just content, not just settled in? You know? I see so many of the older generations, they try. Like your generation, you guys are going to try. Are you guys any different from the generations before? As a generation, probably not. What do generations do? They try, and then they sigh, and then they die. There's your cycle. We'll try, sigh, and die. Why? We don't really know the things that are driving us. We don't know the things that we're pursuing. We don't know the things that we want. The audience is bullshit. We talked about this. And who's in the audience? All of us. All of us, man. We're all in those gutters, man. We're all in the gutter. And some people are looking up at the stars because some people have their eye transfixed on something that they're pursuing. And to know why you're pursuing it. Because to know why you want something, you have to know who you are. Why does being famous matter so much to me? Because I don't feel important and loved already. And I believe that if I become famous, I'll be important to people and I'll be loved. Here's the paradox. Can you be loved when you're happy? Maybe. But by who? How do you know? How do you know? When you meet someone, do you know that they love you for who you are, or do they love you for the avatar that you are? In other words, do they love that image of the famous person, or do they love you for who you are? And if it's a matter of no, they love me for who I am, then why are the relationships of famous people always in such chaos? Constant divorces, constant scandals, constant unhappiness. Because you can never know who really loves you and who really loves that thing. Think about Michael Jackson. The guy's famous from the time he's 5 years old till all the way to the day he dies. Everybody who meets him, are they meeting Michael Jackson. But do any of them know Mike Jackson? No. No. I don't think he can even know himself on that. And so the idea of being loved, that one that you say that you're after, that you realize that the thing that you're really after, you've now put a big X on it, and you've cut off your ability to attain that one thing that was so important, which is to be loved. To be important? Yeah. Until you're really, really not. And then you're a joke. You're a punchline. Remember that person who used to be famous for like 5 minutes? Yeah, and then the chances of you ever being able to attain that thing again? No. And then of course what happens? You become famous, you become important to people, and you're still not happy. And now you look at it and go, maybe I'm just incapable of being happy. I have everything I wanted. Yeah, you had everything you thought you wanted, but you didn't have the things that you need. And those are very different. The process of examining your unconscious self is the process of discovering the things that you need, not just the things that you want. And hopefully, man, the goal of life, man, is to get what you want and to get what you need in alignment. And if you can align those things together, man, you've really got something going. But yeah, to be content, not to be settled in, but to be content with the things that you have. But you can't be content with what you have and who you are until you know the things that you want and need, and you get those things into alignment. And once you do that, well, that's the danger. Time. Time is now ticking. And as Ruben suggested, we're all running away from time. Another great song, old song, named Jim Croce. It's a song called Time in a Bottle. He writes it about his son who's been born, and he's kind of like balancing out this thing about being a very well-known and famous musician and trying to be a parent. Because there's only 24 hours in the day. And which of those things is more important? Your job or your family? And we oftentimes say, my family. Yeah, but if you don't work your job, you can't provide for your family. So now we start justifying it. You know what? I spend 12, 14 hours a day to provide for my family so that they can have the things that, yeah, but what they don't have is a dad. Oh, fuck. Because then I'll work half as much. Well, now your kids don't play Pop Warner football, or your kids don't go to grad night, or your kids don't go to the 6th grade camp or whatever. Oh, fuck. Okay, so I'll go back to work then. And there's that constant, it's a zero-sum game, man. There's only so much time. There's only so much time to work. There's only so much time for family. And that's why there's no such thing as work time. There's no such thing as family time. There's no such thing as leisure time. There's no such thing as downtime. There's only time. And how you decide to carve that up is how you label it. But don't trick yourself into thinking like, oh, this is my downtime. No, this is your time. No, this is my work time. No, this is your time. Okay, I'm going to make time for my family. You don't make time. You engage it. And you've only got so much, and by the time, as Jim Croce says, there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them, he says. And I wonder how many, I can just talk about people I know. I know a lot of people who got into their late teens, 20s, and 30s, and they have parents who finally decide to start being parents. Start making time for them. Start being around. It's almost always the dad who convinces himself, like, I'm doing this for my family. Are you? Or are you doing it because you want to fulfill yourself and you want to achieve? Jim Croce, when he writes that line, there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. Jim Croce was worth millions and millions and millions. He could have stepped away at any second and focused entirely on his son. Well, why didn't he? Because being a rock star is badass. And then I think he dies in a plane crash or something like that. And he never gets that time. So, figure out those things that are important to you, which means to figure out who you are. Figure out not the conscious motivations, but the real things that are driving those conscious motivations. Questions? Comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Yeah.
I wanted to say that what I thought about hope was what we want in life is unclear because we haven't experienced it or know what will come after you reach that one. Because kind of like wanting a cart. Well, of course, it's going to cost a lot of money once you do obtain it, but you don't know what else will come after. That you could either do something really good, like when like you're driving to like places, like you could like do something out of it, or you could like die in a crash or something. You just don't know. But like, of course, we want.
Yeah. Audience is bullshit. We don't know what we want. We say we know what we want, but you can't know. I wonder how many of you want to get married someday. I wonder how many of you don't want to get married because, oh my God, marriage is so bad. My guess is you probably have some really terrible models of marriage around you. And then we'll fold our arms, we'll scratch our chins, and we'll frown, and we'll say, you know, half of all marriages end in divorce. And we go, yeah, that's true. That's true. Kind of. My sister got married, and then she got divorced. My sister got married again, then she got divorced. Guess what she did after that? She got married again to the same person she married the second time, and then they divorced again. Yeah. So that means that 100% of my sister's marriages end in divorce. What that means, therefore, is that 3 of you in here have to get married and stay married for the rest of your lives just to make the divorce rate 50%. You follow? People who get divorced tend to get divorced multiple times. That's what throws off that number. Most people do not get divorced. If you look at the mean and not just the average, no, not half of all marriages end in divorce. It's true that half of all marriages end in divorce, but it's not true that half of all people get divorced. You follow? There's the difference. And if you've heard your whole life, oh my God, one person for the rest of your life, blah, blah, blah. Some of you hear that and you're like, that'd be pretty dope. Why? Because that way you're not having to give away half your shit every few years. I don't mean that just in terms of monetary stuff, but you're not having to divide up the kids every few years. You're not having to give away half of your money every few years. You're not having to give away half of what you build. I mean, in terms of time. You're not having to sacrifice that, the last 7 years, 100% of the last 7 years in time. How can you constantly build something when every few years you're having to rebuild something? Well, then, so if you want to build something, 100% security and security, safety, togetherness, staying together for the rest of your life, building blocks, all of that matters. And by the way, the data bears this out. People are so worried about